State leaders are ready to fight a new federal water rights plan on deeper cuts to our share of the Colorado River. And we learned new today that plan spares neighboring states, Colorado, New Mexico, Wyoming, from any cuts.
Decades of drought have drained key reservoirs like Lake Powell to dangerous low levels. So the feds stepped in after our 7 western states failed on their own to reach a compromise on sharing and conserving the river's water. Amy Cutler's here tonight. So as expected, Arizona is one of 3 states facing likely very steep cuts.
Yeah, exactly right. And this is what state leaders had expected. They were bracing for it, but they were still hoping for the best. The water sharing compact dates back to 1922, and under those rules, earlier users were given higher priority. So while these cuts were expected, many Arizona leaders are calling the proposal unacceptable. For 3+ years, the 7 states that rely on water from the Colorado River have been unable to reach an agreement on inevitable cuts. The Upper Basin states of Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, and Wyoming pitted in a water tug-of-war with Arizona, California, and Nevada, the Lower Basin states. At stake, a river that provides water to 1 in 10 Americans, irrigates land responsible for producing 15% of the country's food, and generates power for 6 million people.
This is going to impact people not just in our region and not just in Arizona, but across the country.
John Bolts is president of the Arizona Farm Bureau and a longtime farmer himself.
What will this mean for your farm?
It will likely mean that certain areas that we farm in Yuma County might face some water reductions that would change some of the crops we grow part of the year.
Bolts says those crops include alfalfa, and that alfalfa from our region is used to produce nearly 30% of the country's dairy.
We're known for growing the finest durum wheat, which is what's made into pasta.
The Fed's 10-year proposal doesn't require cuts from the Upper Basin states, and that's been a sticking point for the Lower Basin. The proposed cuts are twice what the Lower Basin offered back in May. The plan allows for water rules to be reviewed every 2 years, and states would still be able to renegotiate with one another. While Bolts calls it disappointing, he says it's important there's finally a framework.
There's no such thing as fast food. Agriculture needs time to plan.
Now, important to note, this is a final environmental impact statement, so it doesn't have specifics on cuts. That is expected by October 1st. 70% of Scottsdale's water is from the Colorado River. Scottsdale's mayor says they have serious concerns, claiming the framework is flawed.
All right, so more information coming from the feds by October 1st, but it begs the question, what comes next? Because a number of state leaders keep coming out denouncing this. We had the Chamber of Commerce. I thought what they said was interesting. Arizona will not accept being treated as the system's default shock absorber. I think our senators, many other leaders thinking the same thing. So is this going to end up in court possibly?
Yeah, it is very likely to face legal challenges. When I spoke with state leaders a few months back, they said that they were sort of preparing for that. There's a lot of uncertainty, though, because ultimately it could go to the Supreme Court, but we don't know how they would rule. There's not really a precedent for this, so lots of questions.
In the meantime, the river level keeps dropping, the lake levels keep dropping. So
I know, and I hate that the default argument is it's not fair that these other states just aren't taking any cuts, but it truly isn't fair that they're not absorbing some responsibility for it. Amy, thank you.